I'm sure you guys have been around long enough to know how the YouTube algorithm works, right? Sometimes you got to feed it. So when I say must own players for 2021, but I really love every single player that we're going to talk about today. And I think I can make a great argument as to why they should all be top targets of yours going into your drafts for 2021. If you agree with me, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think. If you disagree with me, well, eat shit. No, I'm kidding. If you disagree with me, I love going back and forth. That's what the fantasy community is all about. Hit me with a comment. I read all of them. I try to respond to all of them. And if you like these videos, hit that thumbs up. Helps us a ton. Again, YouTube algorithm. And subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't done so yet. Let's dive into it. But before we do, you got to check out Underdog Fantasy if you haven't done so yet. You've already heard me say it a million times if you've watched my videos in the past. I love Underdog Fantasy. It is by far my favorite platform for best ball drafts. They've got the $3.5 million best ball tournament going on right now, over $1 million to first. It's the biggest tournament in best ball history. It's fantastic. The platform's awesome. You can draft on the app, desktop, laptop, whatever you want. And if you use the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, you'll get $25 when you sign up and deposit. Use it on whatever you want. Man, it's been so popular lately that the $50K to first, $5 to enter puppy already filled up like a week ago, and we're not even in August yet. So I'm assuming we're going to see more of those type of tournaments as we draw closer to the season. If you want to draft now or you want to wait closer till we kick off for week one, whatever you want to do doesn't matter. But when you do it, when you sign up, use that promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. Get your $25 injected into your account when you sign up and deposit using the promo code Awesemo. I'll see you over there. UnderdogFantasy.com. Julio Jones isn't worth more than a fourth-round pick? Seriously? I'd actually love to have this very debate on why Jones should have an ADP of 38, and I'm totally willing to listen. So if this is where you stand, leave a comment down below telling me why he shouldn't go in the first 3 rounds. But the injury-prone argument isn't going to get you very far, because while Jones dealt with a nagging hamstring injury all of last year and was on the field for only 9 games, he's played at least 14 games in each of his last 6 seasons. And in those seasons, he was the wide receiver 3, 2, 7, 6, 6, and 6. This year, Jones is being drafted as the wide receiver 17. So sure, the Titans have a 2,000-yard rusher in Derrick Henry and another elite receiver in A.J. Brown. But the Falcons had another alpha receiver in Calvin Ridley last year, and Jones was the wide receiver 3 in the 7 games that he played to completion. Yeah, you heard that right. In the 7 games Jones played from start to finish, he was the wide receiver 3, averaging 100 yards per game with a 76.3% catch rate, 11.9 yards per target, and 15.6 yards per reception. I totally understand. He's 32 years old now. He's getting up there in age. But Jones showed absolutely zero signs of age deterioration last year. Actually, he was incredible when on the field. Arthur Smith might be gone, with Todd Downing being installed as the new offensive coordinator in Tennessee. But it's hard to believe this Titans offense can't easily support 2 elite wide receiver seasons. They churned out 2 top 30 receivers last year, with one of them being Corey Davis, and the since departed Jonnu Smith caught 8 touchdowns on the year. Plus, there's no way Henry handles another 378 carries. The best part about all this is we don't need another top 5 season from Jones at his ADP. He just needs to be better than some of the 16 receivers going ahead of him. It's actually quite shocking that there are so many people out there who are unwilling to draft Ezekiel Elliot when they're sitting at the 5 spot in drafts. It's also funny how quickly we can flip our opinions on a player after one down or up season without providing any real context. Let me provide that context for you, and we'll start with the bad. Elliott averaged a career worst 4 yards per attempt last season. He also managed only 6 touchdowns on 45 red zone carries and 5 touchdowns on 26 carries inside the 5. Elliott failed to reach 1,000 rushing yards for the first time since 2017, where he had 983 yards in only 10 games. And finally, last season he averaged only 2.82 yards per contact after attempt. Pretty bad, right? On the surface, sure, this would be considered a wildly underwhelming season from Elliott. But that's without acknowledging everything that went wrong for Dallas in 2020. And Elliott was still the RB9 in PPR leagues. Moreover, Elliott was the RB2 through the first 5 weeks of the season before Dak Prescott was lost for the year, and finished top 10 in running back targets for the 3rd straight season. He ran behind an offensive line that was gutted by injuries and was constantly playing from behind thanks to god-awful defense and putrid quarterback play. Fast forward to 2021, where the Cowboys have a 9.5 game win total, a healthy Prescott and offensive line, and a running back in Elliott who looks like he was created in a lab. Dak Prescott wasn't lying when he said Elliott was in the best shape of his life. And you're crazy if you think he won't see positive touchdown regression this year too. If you isolate his 10 games from 2017, Elliott has been the RB5 or better in every single season but 2020. I haven't loved drafting at a middle position too much this season, but if that's my fate, I'm grabbing Elliott in the first with pleasure every time. Let's go back to Tennessee for a second and talk about Ryan Tannehill. Can you tell I like this offense a lot this season? It's not even that I think the Titans will be the best offense in the league this year, even though in 2020, Football Outsiders graded them 4th in offensive DVOA and passing DVOA, and PFF gave them a top 2 offensive grade as well. So it's not like another top 5 season is out of the question. But what makes the Titans most appealing is some of their ADPs, like Julio Jones at 38 and Tannehill at 103. What a fantastic team stack this is for best ball, getting a receiver who still has top 10 upside and a quarterback who posted a top 8 finish last year and didn't have Julio Jones. And you don't have to spend insane draft capital on either of them. Tannehill's being drafted as the QB 11 this year, which means you can grab him at a triple-digit ADP. Did you know Tannehill's 7 rushing touchdowns were tied with Lamar Jackson last year? I don't know if Tennessee's goal line and red zone offense will look much different under Todd Downing, but still, we know Tannehill can move. He had 266 rushing yards to accompany his 3,819 passing yards and 33 passing touchdowns, good for 7th best in football. His rushing touchdown efficiency is definitely unsustainable, but with 11 rushing scores in his last 2 seasons, we know the upside is there. Oh, and I almost forgot. In the 10 starts he made in 2019, Tannehill was the QB8 last year and the QB2 as a starter in 2019. He just went from having Corey Davis as his second receiving option to Julio Jones and is capable of using his legs when needed. I'll take that 103 ADP all day long at a position where I never draft early. Calvin Ridley was the wide receiver 5 last season, and the wide receiver 2 if you isolate the 7 weeks that Julio Jones missed. He posted career-high marks in receptions, targets, and yards by a mile, and still found the end zone 9 times on the year. And while he might not be the biggest bodied receiver in football, Ridley caught 7 of his 9 touchdowns inside the red zone, ranked 3rd in red zone targets, and 2nd in targets inside the 5. Ridley averaged 109 yards and 10.6 targets per game with Jones sidelined last year, while producing 15.3 yards per reception and a fantastic 2.84 yards per route run. Arthur Smith takes over as head coach for Atlanta this year, which we shouldn't be worried about at all. Anyone talking about how Tennessee had a top 3 run play percentage in both seasons with Smith as offensive coordinator doesn't understand that he was adapting to his team's strengths. And Derrick Henry is certainly a strength. But Smith was extremely creative inside the red zone, knowing teams would always expect a heavy dose of Derrick Henry, and I expect him to take that creativity and ability to adapt into Atlanta. The Falcons don't have an elite bruising running back like Henry, but they do have a top 5 receiver in Calvin Ridley. And consider this, even with Tennessee running the football an absurd 521 times last year, A.J. Brown still posted almost 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns, while Corey Davis came 16 yards shy of 1,000 yards and only played 14 games. And while Matt Ryan has been a QB 10 or better in 8 of 11 seasons since 2010, he doesn't have the rushing upside of Tannehill, which means more looks inside the red zone for Calvin Ridley. I absolutely love Ridley in the 2nd round, and honestly wouldn't be surprised if he finished as the wide receiver 1 at season's end. Appreciate all you guys watching. As always, head over to Awesemo.com. Check out everything we've got for season long and all of our DFS content headed up by the #1 DFS player in the world. And while you're at it, check out our Awesemo Odds channel right here on YouTube. It's brand new. It could use some love. We'll catch you back here for the next one.